So over the next couple of lessons, we're going to look at ratio. We're going to start off by very simply looking at how we write amounts as ratios and also how we simplify those ratios, okay? So when we write amounts as ratios, it's a very easy way of comparing two or more amounts. We're going to get stuck into this and see how it works by looking at this first example here, okay? So if we have a football club that has 30 members, where 10 of those members are girls and 20 are boys, and I've highlighted the important information within the question, 10 girls and 20 boys, we are asked to write the ratio of girls to boys in its simplest form. So when we write ratios, we write it in this format. So because the question states it has to be girls to boys, the amount of girls is written first, followed by the amount of boys, okay? So girls to boys, and we can just start off by writing the full amounts and then simplify it. So there's 10 girls and 20 boys. So girls to boys means there are 10 girls to 20 boys, okay? The question, however, has asked us to write this ratio in its simplest form. And the easiest way to think of it is that ratios are simplified in the same way that we would simplify fractions, in that we simply divide both parts of the ratio by the largest possible common factor. So if I look at the two parts of this ratio, girls to boys is 10 to 20. I have to think of the largest common factor of 10 and 20. Well, that's quite easy. The largest number that goes into both 10 and 20 is 10. So what I do is I divide both parts of that ratio by 10. So 10 divided by 10 is 1. So that's 1 girl. 20 divided by 10 is 2, and that's 2 boys. So what that means is we have 1 girl for every 2 boys at this football club. So a ratio in its simplest form is a good way of comparing different amounts. All right. A couple of other basic examples, because today we're only going to look at how we simplify ratios. And again, as I've explained earlier, it's done in the same way that we would simplify a fraction, which is going to simplify the following ratios. If I was asked to simplify the ratio of 4 to 2, I mean, that could be 4 to 2 anything, it's not a written question, but we will, as the videos progress, look at written questions and more challenging ones, perhaps to do with ingredients in food and so on. If I was to look at this, 4 to 2, the largest number that goes into both 4 and 2 is just 2. So all I'm going to do is divide both sides by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So 4 to 2 simplifies to 2 to 1, in the same way that 2 quarters would simplify down to a half. So again, very, very similar to how we simplify fractions. Our next example is to simplify the ratio of 18 to 24. So I have to think of the largest possible number that goes into both 18 and 24. We are dealing with larger numbers in this case. It's going to be the number 6. All right, so I have to divide 18 and 24 both by the number 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. So 18 to 24 simplifies down to 3 to 4. Now, I will just take a wee minute to point out that if you hadn't spotted the largest common factor right away, let's say you didn't spot that 6 was the largest common factor of both numbers, and you said, okay, I will divide both by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Well, in that case, again, always just take a wee minute to look at the ratio you've just simplified and think, is there anything that will go into both 9 and 12 now? Well, there is, and the common factor of 9 and 12 that we're looking for is 3. So I divide both of these by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So either way, I end up with the same answer. It's just it's taking 2 steps over here, whereas when I use the largest common factor, I get there in 1 step. So there's no problem doing this. Just always take that wee minute to see if there's something else that will divide into it, because it has to be when it asks in its simplest form, written in the simplest form, which in this case would be 3 to 4 and not 9 to 12. Okay. I'll also just take a wee second to point out that ratios like this one can have more than just 2 parts. They can have 3 parts. So in this case, 25, 45 and 15, very similarly, we just look at a common factor, the largest common factor of the 3 numbers, and in this case it will be 5. So I divide each part by 5. And we will look at written questions where we see this can happen. So 25 divided by 5 is 5, 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. So this simplifies down to 5 to 9 to 3. Okay, I'll post some questions for you to try, and again, all we're looking at here is how we write amounts as ratios and simplify them, and anything you're unsure about, just ask.